We are live. Let me just double check all of this. Make sure that we're actually live, people. Okay, good. I'm live. Hi, Shelly. I see that you made a comment there. If you can hear me, please give me a 1 in the chat box just to make sure that you guys can hear me. That you can hear me and see me. Super nerd today. I see that there's 2 viewers there. I know that one is me because I always check to make sure you guys can see me. And then the other one, I think, is Shelly. So if you can hear me, please give me a 1 in the chat box. Good. Thank you, Shelly. Good. Okay, good. You guys can hear me. Super. See, I always check. See, there I am in double time. I always check because I don't trust myself or my computer. So, okay, good. I'm just going to, what I'll do is every so often I'll look at the screen as a viewer just to make sure that that you guys can see me and hear me. Now, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box. And at the end of this, I will go ahead and answer them all. And I'm sure that you guys are going to have lots and lots of questions because what we're going to talk about here is going to be super awesome. So Pinterest is super awesome. You know why it's super awesome, people? Because not everybody and their cousin's on Pinterest yet. In the online marketing world, not everybody and their cousin is on Pinterest yet. And so now it's free. It's pretty much untapped. It's like California and let's say like the early 1900s where it's settled, it's the gold rush is over, it's settled, but not everybody and their cousins there yet, so it's not like super Hollywood crazy. That is what Pinterest is. So we got 3 minutes left until we start. We are going to start on time because I totally appreciate you guys being here live. So Shelly, I know that you are in the US. Anybody else who's here, tell me where you are coming from. So we still got 3 minutes, okay. Somebody sent me a message. All right, 2 minutes. Shelly, I thought you were not in Virginia, but you're in Virginia and you're snowed in. It's here today. We are having the weirdest weather this winter. 2 days ago it was like 20 degrees outside. Now this week it's like 70 degrees outside. It's like ridiculous. Okay, guys, we got 2 minutes left and then I'll start. So guys, thanks for joining us. We're going to start right on time at 3 o'clock Eastern. It's going to be 2 o'clock here. I'm in Central, but we're just waiting 2 minutes, probably like 1 minute at this point, and then we're going to go ahead and start because I know that you guys are busy afterwards. So what we're going to learn today is how you can start using Pinterest in your business and why it's so great. I just said it's kind of like California back in the early 1900s where it's settled. We kind of, you know, it's there and it's not like crazy anymore, but you know, it's got like a rhythm to it, but it's not like everybody's not there yet. So it's a really great way for you guys to start getting more traffic and more clients and start, you know, really getting yourself out there without having to compete with everybody and their cousin like you do on Facebook at this point. So just one more minute, guys. I'm going to take a drink. Now, the way that this is going to work is we're going to talk about 5 things that you can do to start getting more traffic from Pinterest, and 5 strategies you can use. But it's going to be like, here's the strategy, here's the case study, and then here's the results. And I wanted to do that so you guys knew that the strategies we're going to talk about are actually real strategies that we've tested and that have actually worked out. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and screen share. It is 3 o'clock Eastern, and I'm going to screen share and show you guys and tell you guys everything you need to know. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the chat box, and I will check back periodically just to make sure that you guys can still see me, and then to answer any questions about those particular topics, okay? So let me go ahead and screen share. Okay. I'm just going to give it 1 second just to make sure that it loads up onto the screen. Okay, I have my other laptop open. Hi, Caroline. Thanks for joining. Caroline says she is super excited to learn more. I can't wait to tell you guys everything. Pinterest. Well, it's not everything, so I don't want to overwhelm you, but it is definitely the information that you should have. Oh, good. Okay, my screen is showing. Okay, perfect. I always get a little bit nervous about that, y'all. Okay, so welcome to my presentation about Pinterest. This is the ultimate guide to getting more traffic, more clients, and more profit using the power of Pinterest. And this is the place you want to be if you are looking to really grow your audience. And I've said a couple times here, it's because Pinterest is a huge driver of traffic, and you're not competing against everybody and their cousin like you are on Facebook to get noticed. You have a lot more control at this point using Pinterest. So I'm going to give you what you need to know, 5 things that you can do to go ahead and start getting more traffic through Pinterest. Oh, again, this masterclass is no pitch. There will be an opportunity to purchase a recording of this masterclass if you want it, and there'll be some cool PDFs thrown in, as well as a special little surprise. But other than that, you're not going to be asked to buy anything, no pitch. All right, guys, this is all about just learning how to use Pinterest. So you are in the right place if you're a coach or online marketer and you're tired of the struggle to get more client leads. We all know what that is like. You have an online business and you're frustrated with your traffic. So maybe you're not getting enough traffic, maybe it's just a trickle, then this is the right place for you. And you aren't making as much in your business as you want. Maybe you're making some money, but you really want to grow this year. It is the beginning of 2017, and you're not quite sure how to do it, and you're just not making as much as you want to make. And your business is lacking cash flow, and you can't grow. And this is the bottom line. You know, you got to pay to play. When it comes to Pinterest, you don't have to pay to play so much, but if you're lacking that cash flow, you're going to have a hard time really growing and scaling your business. So we're going to talk about how Pinterest can help you with that. So here's what you're going to learn by hanging out with me today. And thank you for hanging out with me. You're going to learn how to promote yourself on Pinterest so people actually pay attention to your message. It's one thing to be there and to be present. It's a totally different thing to actually capture people's attention, and it is capturing their attention that will lead to people coming to your website. You're going to learn the #1 method to capture those leads so that you can turn that traffic into paying clients. And again, it's one thing to have all the traffic. It's another thing to actually turn those people into people who will actually pull out their credit cards and give you money. We're going to talk about the best way to get attention on Pinterest so that people click your pins and come to your website. The best strategy to share your pins so that you're ultra visible. And then we're going to also talk how to increase your reach so that you get a flood of fans on your website. Okay, so that there are 5 steps. So our 5 steps are going to cover all of this. And when I say a flood of fans, I understand that that sounds like hyperbole, but it's not. The amount of traffic you can get from Pinterest, and we'll look at some screenshots that I can show you, the amount of traffic you can get from Pinterest, this is not hyperbole. This is an actual proof that I have to show you guys that this is not hyperbole. So the bottom line here, guys, is that nothing I'm going to share here with you today is theory or fluff that might work. This is stuff that we have tested and we have tried out, and we're going to talk about the case studies and the results of the case studies. This is exactly what I have done in my business to generate 1.5 million views. On one of my websites, I actually did get in 2016, I got 1.5 million views, and these are the exact things that I did. And I've helped students increase their traffic from 4,000 to 10,000 more views a week. These people started out with like 200 views a day, and they went to 4,000 views a day, then they went to 10,000 views a week, and then they actually were able to 10x their earnings. So they had told me what they made before, we started working together, and then they told me the amount of traffic that they got, and we were able to extrapolate from that will 10x their earnings. And it doesn't matter if you're a newbie or if you've never used Pinterest before. This is all about baby steps and taking action. It's very easy to get overwhelmed in Pinterest if you're new. Just take baby steps, get used to the platform, and then build on that. So the proof is in the pudding, guys. And this is the proof of how what I'm going to teach you is, will work for you. So Tiffany compared her traffic. We started working together. She compared her traffic from November 17th to the 21st in 2016. And then the next month, she compared the traffic during the same period, and it's 7 times more. And then Rick, he said that his traffic, he got 1,400 page views yesterday, 3 times his normal. And then he has one pin that was doing really, really well. So for 3 days consistently, he had over 1,000 3 days consistently. And then Marie took some of my advice. So we're going to talk about this advice in this, and she created long pins, and it went crazy viral with 4,600 views. And then she woke up with 2,400 views. But you guys, this was like before it went totally crazy. And she actually ended up getting 38,000 views in 3 days just by taking this one piece of advice that we're going to talk about in this webinar. So let's very, very quickly touch on who this training is not for. And I have to clarify this, because if you're not willing to do certain things, this training will not work for you. If you don't want to write blog posts at all, this is not going to work for you. Pinterest does not favor anything but blog posts. If you send them to an opt-in page, and we're going to talk more about this, it's not going to work for you. So if you're willing to write blog posts, you don't have to write every week, you don't have to write every day, but this is what you're going to have to share. And if you're not willing to take the time to implement these strategies, like anything else, you get out of it what you put into it. And then if you don't want to do any research to find boards to share on, you're going to have a tough time with this. And we're not talking like spending 3 weeks doing research. We're talking like an hour a week. So like anything else, you get as much out of it as you put into it. That's pretty much anything else when it comes to, making money online and growing a business. So the number one takeaway that I want you to get from this training is that Pinterest is the fastest way to get more traffic, more clients, and more profit, okay? So very, very quickly, let's just talk about who I am. I'm just going to check to make sure that you guys can see and hear everything. Great. Okay, so very quickly, let's just talk about who I am. I won't drone on and on and on about this, I promise. So my name is Marian Van Eidert, and I am a Pinterest expert. My business helps women transition their offline business to the online world so that they can scale their business and help more people. I started off as a blogger, and I still own a home and garden blog that gets millions of views a year. So just about my story a little bit. So a few years ago, my husband and I moved from DC to our farm here in the Midwest. We own an organic farm. And the reason why is because we just didn't want to keep working, working dollars for hours. We worked for the government. We'd had enough. We were keeping the condo to keep the job, keeping the job to keep the condo. And it was just this never-ending cycle of just stuff we just didn't want to do anymore. So here's the thing, though. When we moved to our farm, there were really no jobs. So there wasn't much for me, who was, a skilled, business person, a writer and everything. There wasn't much for me to do. So I started this blog to talk about our lives. And then from there, I got really immersed in how to grow a business online. But the bottom line, though, guys, is I just really wasn't making any money. Okay, I had this blog, I was getting all these views, but I wasn't making money. Oh, who am I? Sorry about that, guys. So anyways, I really became obsessed with understanding how Pinterest can send a ton of traffic to my business. I realized that Pinterest was one of my biggest referrers. So I'm a big believer in the 80-20 rule. I'm sure that you are too. So I started to really concentrate on understanding the platform. It was sending me traffic, not a lot, but some, and it was sending me more traffic than any other referrer out there. So pretty much overnight, guys, and I'll show you some screenshots of this, my traffic exploded. I went from literally getting 20,000 views a month to 120,000 views the next month. So I would literally, from December of 2015, I got 20,000. January of 2016, I got 120,000. That is the power of Pinterest. And as our income increased, because my traffic increased, I was getting in front of more people, I started making thousands of dollars every month because of all the traffic and buyers that Pinterest was sending me. So fast forward to today, this is the screenshot I like to show people. You can see right here, this is the point right here where I started to figure out Pinterest. This is the power of Pinterest. You can literally go from getting no traffic to exploding your traffic overnight. So I have a lot more traffic. Oh, there's an arrow. I have a lot bigger email list. I have an email list of over 10,000 people. It's even bigger than that now. So I went from having a list of maybe like a couple hundred to having a list of 10,000 people. And obviously now I make more money. So that's really what Pinterest has done for me, and I know it can do it for you. I realized that I had a lot of skills that could also help other people. And that's how I started to teach Pinterest and have an online business that can help people. Sorry guys, I'm putting my computer down. So literally my entire life and business changed the moment I chose to bring more traffic to my website and turn my business into a profit machine. Guys, I'm not a genius. I'm not really even that bright of a person. I just figured out this platform and I figured out how to monetize it. So if I can do it, you can do it too, okay? And I'm still growing. So like, I'm still trying to figure out how I'm gonna grow my business. I got 1.5 million views. I wanna get 3 million views this year. So every point along the journey, no matter where you're at, you can use these ideas, and I'm still like you. I'm still trying to figure out how to grow even bigger and have a big business. But I understand Pinterest very well. So just a couple things to keep in mind is that take action on whatever we talk about today. We're going to talk about 5 things. Just take action on some of it, and then you can go ahead and implement everything else as you go along, okay? One step at a time. So let's talk about why we're here. 5 steps to turn Pinterest into your first, last, and only traffic source to attract floods of new and interested visitors to your website each and every day. All right. So the 5 steps we're going to talk about are: 1, promote only blog posts on Pinterest. We said that this is not the training for you if you don't want to write blog posts, because it is super critical to only promote blog posts on Pinterest. Number 2, collect email addresses to build your list. Again, it's one thing to have a lot of traffic. It's another thing to actually harness that traffic into buyers. Number 3 is create pins that attract attention, and we'll talk about how to do that. Number 4 is share your own pins regularly. By your own pins, I mean your own content. And number 5 is use keywords in your description to increase your reach, and we'll talk about how to do that. So number 1, promote only blog posts on Pinterest. I'm going to take a drink real quick, you guys. Okay, perfect. I'm back. So the way Pinterest works is like any other platform out there. They want their users to have the best experience possible. What that means is they want content that's engaging, that their users are going to want to come back and continue to use the platform to get that information. So they only promote the best quality content and also the popular content. So you can have the best blog post in the world, but if it's not popular, it's not going to be seen as well. And we're going to talk a bit more about how to make your blog post popular. But just remember that Pinterest only cares if the quality of the content is good. If you are sharing Opt-in pages, if you're sharing sales pages, they just don't do as well, and the Pinterest algorithm is constructed in a way that it will filter those out of the search query. Like whenever somebody goes into Pinterest and looks for answers to a question, like maybe they want chicken dinner, if your content is a sales page, it's not going to show up. So Pinterest, the way the algorithm is set up is that it actively avoids promoting spammy content, for example, landing pages on lead pages. And ask me how I know. I've made this mistake. And that's how I know that they do this, is I have promoted opt-in pages on Pinterest, and they actually marked those pins as spam. And whenever anybody clicked on the pin to be taken to that page, Pinterest actually had like a wall up that wouldn't allow them to actually go onto that page. So their algorithm is very sophisticated in that way. The way around it, the way to get the engagement, and the way to get the Pinterest algorithm to push up your content is by just promoting your own quality content and sharing your own quality content. And like I said, sharing opt-in pages will decrease your reach. I have made this mistake. Just take my word for it. Don't do it. And again, blog posts equal quality traffic. And expanding on that idea a little bit, guys. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. So we all know that when you're an online marketer, regardless of whatever your niche is, regardless of what your product is, you only really want to have the best quality traffic come on your site, because, sorry guys, you only want to have the best quality traffic on your site because you only want the best quality customers, right? So when you're creating the content, you are showing your customers, your potential customers, how much benefit you have, how much you can help them, right? So when you are creating the blog posts, you're giving them that free value. That in turn turns them into better quality client leads. Okay, I think that makes sense there. So let's talk really quickly about why all this works. So we said promote blog posts. Why does that work? Pinterest wants us to help users, and better content achieves this. And again, as online marketers, that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to provide our users, our potential clients, our leads with good quality content so they can realize how wonderful we are. Pinterest has the same idea. So they, again, go ahead and they promote, and they allow your articles to go into more people's news feeds if you go ahead and write helpful content. And as you start to share your content, you'll be sharing pins that have your brand identity on it, so a logo or your URL. People will actually begin to recognize you because you're helpful. So they'll eventually start to go, hey, wait a second. I have seen an article already from this person. I know this logo. I'm going to go ahead and continue to click on this pin because I know it's going to lead to content that's actually going to help me. Okay, so over time, people will actually begin to recognize you, same as they do on Facebook, and they'll come back to your website, and they will tell their friends about you as you start to share more and more helpful content. At the same time, you're not asking for anything yet. So it works because you're providing that free value and that free content, okay? So the results, let's look at some results. This is my results. By sharing blog posts only, and then asking, and we'll talk in the next step about how to actually generate leads from that. But by sharing blog posts only, this was my results. I got 1.5 million views. You can see the number right here. 1.5 million views in 2016. And then this is one of my students' screenshot from his analytics. What you see is that, just a few weeks ago, he was getting less than 1,000 views a day. And now if you look over here, using some of these strategies, he's getting about 4,000 views a day. So sharing the blog posts is a way to really explode your amount of growth that you have on and get more traffic to your website, okay? Let me just check real quick to see if you guys have any questions. Caroline, the reason the screen is blurry is because you need to go ahead and change the settings. You can make the You can change like the quality of the image in YouTube. Okay, Caroline says, what if a blog post is embedded with an opt-in at the bottom? That's fine. That's totally fine. And we're actually going to talk in the next step about how to go ahead and capture those leads. That's fine. It's just if you're sending them to a squeeze page, you don't want to do that. Sending them to a squeeze page, Pinterest will not, they'll just mark it as spam. If you're sending them to a blog post that has like a content upgrade, that's totally fine. In fact, I would recommend that. You never want to go ahead and have a blog post or any sort of piece of content that people can read that doesn't have some way to capture their email, right? Okay, guys, sorry, I had to take a drink there. So step number 2, collect email addresses to build your list. And we're going to talk about how to do this. So we all know the reason why you should do this is that your email list is your business's biggest asset. So Caroline, I think, has a jewelry business. She's going to want to go ahead and have people come onto our website and join our email list so they can get news about her jewelry. You will get more traffic, which means more opportunity to build your list. So the more traffic you get, the better your chances of building your list, because it's going to scale, right? Now, what you want to do is you want to use some sort of a pop-up on your website with a freebie to give visitors a reason to join your list. We also call those lead magnets, opt-ins, that sort of thing. So if your blog post has a pop-up on the page, that's fine. Pinterest will not mark it as spam. They will just continue, because what they're looking for is kind of the URL. So if the URL leads to lead pages or some other squeeze page site, they're going to mark it as spam. But if your website has a blog post with a pop-up or a way to give them a content upgrade, they're not going to mark it as spam. Okay. Now, the one caveat to this I do want to mention is that Google just rolled out an algorithm that punishes websites for having pop-ups on it. Anything that can block the content that the reader on a mobile device. So when I say this, use it a little bit judiciously. For example, if that blog post you're trying to rank in Google, you don't necessarily want to use a pop-up on that page. You can use like a block that will some sort of image or something that will lead them to the opt-in. But if you're not trying to rank that page on Google, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and put the pop-up on there. And I can tell you from experience, I've used pop-ups. I've not used pop-ups. Pop-ups work. If you're not sure what a pop-up is, it's also called like a light box, or something that comes up on the screen to say, hey, get my freebie here. Put your email in. That's what I mean when I say pop-up. They work better than anything else out there. Welcome Mat is another option. I just said welcome Mat's another option. If you don't know what that is, you can look that up. Basically, it's something that scrolls the screen down so that they're given the product or the opt-in offer, and they can enter their email address. Welcome Mat has actually worked 100% the best for me. But like I said, Google is now punishing websites that do that. So if that page is one that you want to try and rank in the Google search engine, consider another option. So let's talk about case study. So when students started to use Pinterest to get more traffic, they started getting more traffic, obviously, right? These people already had pop-ups in place. It was something that I told them to do before we started, and a lot of them had them already on their websites. So they already had their pop-ups in place. And then as they started to get more reach on Pinterest, they got more visitors and more opportunity to get subscribers. But the results of this, guys, and we're going to talk about the results now, is that students increased their email lists by 100 plus subscribers in just 3 days. They were getting so much traffic, and they already had a process in place to collect those email addresses, that they were getting many, many, many more email addresses than they had before we started working together. And then they sold more of their products, because they had more people on their email list, and they also had increased visitors who, like for example, some of these students, they had their products on their sidebar, so people could just go ahead and buy the products. There wasn't like an open date and a close date. It was an evergreen product. They could go ahead and just buy the product on the sidebar. So they sold more of their products that way. And then as they've emailed people about their products, they made more money that way. And then one student sold more ebooks, and these were $30 ebooks. So she was selling like 3 or 4 of these a day, you know? So, I mean, you see how that adds up very, very quickly. If you have a $30 product or even a $50 product, you know, you can see how 100 subscribers added to your email list every day is going to increase your profit, right? We all know that for every person on our email list, they have a certain lifetime value. So I mean, do the math, you know, 100 plus more people a day times whatever the lifetime value of your clients tend to be, that adds into your profit, right? Let me just check real quick, see if you guys have any questions. Okay, Shelly says, so you want to avoid the pop-up on the blog page. Lead pages have the pop-up option too. Okay, so like I said, if you are trying to rank the page in Google, you don't want to have the pop-up on there because Google will, you'll lose your search engine rankings. If you're not trying to rank that page, let's say, for example, it's just some blog post about how you built a website very, very quickly, and you're not really trying to rank it, go ahead and put the pop-up on it, like time your pop-up so it comes up on it, on just that page, and you won't be slammed by Google because you're not already trying to rank for it, right? And Pinterest won't slam you because Pinterest doesn't work that way. It doesn't slam you based on the pop-ups. It's more like if lead page, if you send it to a squeeze page, right? And Shelly asked about the lead pages pop-up option. If it's on your website, that's fine. If you're sending them to lead pages itself, like a squeeze page, then you're going to have problems. But if your lead page pop-up is on your website, it's fine. All right, I hope that that's a little bit more clear. Okay, so let's talk about step 3, create pins that attract attention. This is easier than it sounds. So longer pins do better, guys. We have tested this, and the results are in, and they're phenomenal. All right, longer pins do better, and the reason for that is when somebody is looking at their news feed, there's a lot of pins. You know, if you log into Pinterest, the very first page you're taken to, that is your news feed. There's a lot of other pins on there. The longer pins do better because as people are scrolling, they're more likely to catch the user's eye. So the number one thing is that longer pins do better. Now, pins should use clear, bright photos. And you hear all the time, you hear, you need to make beautiful pins, pretty pictures. That's important. It's not as critical as people make it out to be. But definitely make sure that you use clear, bright photos. So not a selfie of your face. And using like stock photos is okay. Just make sure that they're clear, they're bright, they're attractive, and that they're eye-catching. And your text should be easy to read as a user scrolls. One common mistake that I see is people don't even put text on their pins. Okay. So pins should be long, they should have pretty pictures on them, clear and bright photos, and you need to put text on there that describes what the article is about. So if you're writing an article about how to design a good-looking web page, your text on your pin should indicate that that's what they're going to read about. All right. You know, and it should be easy to read text. So as someone's scrolling, you want to make sure that they can easily see what your pin is about, read the text on it. So that means like what do they call them? Sans serif fonts. Some script is okay as long as it's easy to read. The text should match, but just make sure it's easy for them to read as they're scrolling by, and use like bigger fonts. So don't just like make it a tiny little piece of text about what they're going to read. Make the font pretty easy to read and pretty big. And then be sure to brand your pins. Like we talked about, as you are sharing more content and as you're attracting more attention and getting more traffic to your website, people are going to start recognizing your pins. There are pins out there that I don't even have to look at the logo. I know who made it because I know their style of photo. I know that the filters that they use. So if you brand your pins, and I don't mean just like you put your logo on there, you can put your URL on there, but even if you use a certain color or a certain style of pin, That's also branding. And eventually people will start to recognize that, hey, this is so-and-so's pin. They make great content. I'm going to go ahead and read that. Okay, so definitely make sure that you brand your pins and mark them in some way as yours. But I also do recommend putting your logo on there, at a minimum, your logo. And something to keep in mind is that infographics don't send as much traffic to your website. I've tested infographics personally. They get shared a lot, okay? They will have thousands and thousands of shares, but the infographic pins do not send as much traffic to my website as the longer pins with just photos on them. And the reason why is because the user's getting all the information that they need from the infographic, right? So why do they need to go to your website? So my word of advice is don't share infographics. Send people to a beautiful pin that sends them to your website where they can get all the information. You can include the infographic on your blog post, but I would not make that your pin. Despite what you see on Pinterest, you see everybody and their cousin doing it. I don't agree with that. Okay, just don't do it. It's not tested well for me. Sorry guys, I had to take a drink. And ultimately, the name of the game when it comes to Pinterest is not to make beautiful pins. The name of this game is to attract as much traffic to your website as possible. So if they're not, you can have the best pin in the world, but if they're not clicking through to your website, it's not doing its job. All right. Let me just double check to see if you guys have questions about this. So Tanya asked, I'm an affiliate and use the website given by the company. Would I to get a website for myself to do all that you recommend? Yes, I do. You need some place to send them. So if you're an affiliate for a company, can you tell me exactly what you do so I can understand a little bit better to advise you? Caroline says, should they all be long pins? The ones that you make should be long pins. I believe that they should because they've just tested better. That's just the bottom line. And I'll show you some of the proof of that. But it's once you get into a rhythm, it doesn't take that long either. So yeah, and I'm hesitating a little bit, and the reason why is because there's something when it comes to Pinterest, all of the pins that you create should be long. But I tell people, don't be surprised if the ugliest photo from your website is the one that goes viral, because it happens all the time. But the takeaway from this is that the pins you create should be the long pins. So Tanya, going back to your question real quick, it's going to be hard to have a place to send them if you don't have your own website. You can send them to the company website, I guess, just making sure that your affiliate link is the one that you use. But can you give me a little bit of idea of what it is you do so I can advise you a bit better? Sorry, I couldn't be super specific there. But let's talk about why this works. Like I said, long pins stand out when users are scrolling. And there are people who are going to go to your profile and they're going to look at your boards and they're going to look at all the pins in your boards. But most of the people are going to be scrolling through the news feed, or they're going to be doing searches, and then they're going to be scrolling through the search results, right? Most people are not going to spend a lot of time looking at your profile and everything. So you really want to stand out in that news feed and in the search results, and long pins, they just stand out. We've tested it. That's just kind of how it is. And as we all know, more attention equals more clicks, equals more traffic, equals more people on your email list. It's a pretty simple equation. And people are more likely to click on attractive, descriptive photos, right? We all know, we're all busy. We all have a lot of distractions in our lives. And if they can know what the pin is about, they know what the article is going to teach them, and it can all be just in one simple title, like how to build a website in 30 minutes a day. That is something that they're more likely to click on because they know exactly what they're going to be getting, right? And then again, easy to read text equals more clicks. And we've tested this. We've had people who had pins that had ugly text on it, difficult to read text. We've gone ahead and redone those pins, and it's gotten more clicks. And we're talking the difference between 3 clicks and 1,200 clicks, right? So we're talking about a big discrepancy there. So in this case study, we had students create long pins to promote their content. They were previously using short pins. By short, I mean like 700 pixels by 1,000 pixels. And then we used sans serif fonts as well as fonts that matched well. So you can use serif fonts and you can use cursive, but make sure that they match. And then no more than 2 fonts. Don't go bananas about putting 10 different fonts on there. No more than 2 fonts is perfectly fine for your title. Now, if your brand logo has a different font, that's okay because that's your brand logo. But in terms of the title, no more than 2 fonts. And then we used photos that fit the theme of the blog post, but they were also easy to look at. So they were the bright, clear photos, and they were attractive. I've had past students and people I've helped, and they're using things like selfies, and it doesn't work out. Okay, so we used these photos. Now, the results of this were that they saw an immediate, and I mean immediate like the next day, within 24 hours, an immediate improvement in the amount of people who shared their pins and the amount of traffic that they got. There was, I can't even begin to overstate immediate. It was literally like they put the pin up the next day, it had like 300 repins. So one person got 50 people on their website. So when you see real time, that's how many people are on the website at that point in time. So one person got 50 people on their website with this technique. And then Rick, we've met Rick. Rick had, within 24 hours, he had 905 page views the previous day using these long pins. And then within 24 hours, or no, he said it's for 5 days, he had 1,200 repins in 5 days. That's pretty good, guys. I mean, to go from zero, it was a brand new pin. To go from 0 to 1,200 repins in 5 days is pretty phenomenal. And you can imagine the amount of traffic he got. He said that he's going to match or exceed yesterday's numbers. So this stuff works. Let me just check real quick to see if you guys have any more questions. Okay, so Tanya says that she has health and wellness products and weight loss. Yeah, Tanya, it sounds like you're a network marketer. You know, you can have your own website, and I suggest that you have your own website. I do a little bit of network marketing when it comes to essential oils because of one of my blogs. It's a home and garden blog, and the essential oils is one way to monetize it. You still want to have some sort of website because you want to tell them why the products work. You want to give them information that they can use and appreciate how well the products work before they actually buy them. They're probably not going to buy them without understanding how they're going to use it. So I do recommend that you have some sort of website that you can send them to with content that can help them understand how great the products are. Okay, I hope that helps. Now, Cam says, how does this work if I have no followers? Using these strategies, you will get followers. So, Cam, one thing that you can do is you can go ahead and make your boards and then start sharing your content on those boards. You can also make group boards. And if you don't know how to do that, you can go ahead and I can tell you how to do that. You can make group boards and invite other people to pin on them and go ahead and spread your content and your message that way. So by sharing your content and then by sharing other people's content, like pins, for example, you're going to start getting followers. You know, when it comes to getting followers, there is a little bit of a build-up time. You know, you're not going to go from 0 to 30,000 followers overnight. But as you continue to use the platform and as you continue to share quality content, people will follow you because they'll see that, hey, you're already sharing, good quality content. Great, Tanya. I'm glad that answers your question. All right, guys. So step 4. Let me just take a drink real quick. Okay, step 4, share your own pins regularly. And we're going to talk about what I mean by your own pins, because Pinterest is a little bit funky about stuff like this. So your own pins, when I say your own pins, I mean your own content. Now, Pinterest is going to say, as you pin other people's content onto your boards, Pinterest will call those your pins as well. They are your pins, but they're not going to send any traffic to you. So we like those pins. We want to share those pins. Those pins are our friends, but they're not going to lead to traffic for us. So when I say share your own pins, I mean share your own content regularly. As you share, you're going to get better reach. Okay, so the Pinterest algorithm is set up that as you share your content, it becomes more and more valuable in the eyes of the Pinterest algorithm. It's a little bit different than Google in the sense that you have control over how much traffic you can send to your site based on how often you share your pins. You don't want to spam people, but you do want to share it consistently so that your content stays in the algorithm, so that it gets in front of fresh eyes. All right. So it's kind of like, for example, celebrities. All right. I was a celebrity blogger for a while, which is how I, figured all this stuff out. When it comes to celebrities, when they have an album coming, they do a lot of promotion. Pretty much, if you're a celebrity, your income is based on how popular you are, how many people you have following you, that sort of thing. When it comes to your content, is very, very similar. The more you promote your content, the more you are in front of other people's eyes, the more you are in their news feeds, and the more attention that you get. Okay, so as you share your pins, you're going to get better reach because you're going to get in front of more people. Those people in turn will also share content, and the whole thing sort of grows exponentially from there. I hope that makes sense. I think it does. But if it doesn't make quite a lot of sense, just remember that continue to share your own pins regularly, and you're going to go ahead and get in front of more people and get better reach. And like I said, better reach equals more people seeing your pins in your profile. So Pinterest will also start to recommend your board to people so that they can follow it. And that doesn't happen if you don't share your pins, all right? So share them regularly, share them every day, share them once a week, whatever works for you in your schedule. I recommend daily, but the more you share your content, the more Pinterest is going to see you as a valued member of that community. And it will in turn increase your amount of followers. Now you can go ahead and share your pins on your boards as well as on group boards. If you're not on any group boards yet, don't worry about it. You can go ahead and try to join some, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But just remember that you don't have to pin them on group boards. You can also pin them on your boards, and that will go ahead and increase the amount of exposure that you have to your potential audience. So let's talk about the case study. So in this study, students shared their own content every day. Every single day, guys. Before consistently pinning, one student got between 200 and 800 views a day. So if it was a great day, she got 800 views. Other than that, she didn't get quite that much. After pinning consistently, she's now getting 4,000 views every day. And this is in the span of like 2 weeks, okay? So that's, your mileage may vary. I have to sort of, give the disclaimer here, but this is what happened with this particular student. And these results are not extraordinary. 38,000 views in 3 days is extraordinary. This is just the potential that can happen, okay? So here's the results. Like I said, her traffic from 1 month to the next, and it increased 7 times. Whoops, sorry guys, wrong one. Marie went from basically about 800 views a day to 4,600 page views a day, and then it went viral. And the next morning when she woke up, and at 8:30 a.m. She had already had 2,400 page views that day. And I think that was the day that it started to turn into 38,000 views in 3 days. It went bananas. All right, guys, so let me just double check to see if you have any questions. Okay. Caroline says, so Cam says, can you share what a pin looks like? Yes, at the end of the presentation, I will show you what a pin can look like after I stop screen sharing. You're welcome, Cam. Cam says, thanks for answering the follower part. Got it. You're welcome, Cam. Caroline says, should you ever change the graphic in your content pins, or does it matter? You can make more than one pin, Caroline. So if you have a blog post that has 2 or 3 different aspects to it, you can actually make 2 or 3 different pins. You don't have to make one pin per blog post. You can make several. Cam says, can you share multiple pins leading to the same blog post? Yes, Cam, you can, and I actually do suggest that because it's a way to increase the amount that you can share your content without like spamming people. Because at the end of the day, people aren't quite looking at the title of the article exactly. They're looking more at the image. So you can kind of get away with it that way. Carolyn says, what if you run out of boards to share them on? You can add more boards. So for example, you can try and join more group boards. What I do is I just make another board. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Like for example, right now I want more boards to share my pins on. I'm just going to make another board. So let's say, for example, you're a weight loss coach, okay? And all your boards are filled up. You can make a new board about losing weight in spring, healthy eating for spring, healthy eating for fall, healthy eating for winter. Clothes you can wear in winter to stay warm if you're there's many different options out there. So be creative with it. But you can have as many boards as you want. I don't think there's any limit on boards. So, and the thing to remember too is that as you create new boards, it's going to automatically have followers because the people who are following you now will automatically follow that board. So you see how this can really, sort of exponentially increase your reach. So I hope that answers your questions. I'm going to take a drink here real quick, guys. Talking makes my throat dry. Okay, so step 5 is use keywords in your description to increase your reach. So you can use keywords in your profile and pin description. Now, when we say keywords, we mean words. So when it comes to Google, you hear you need to have long tail keywords, not short tail keywords. And an example of short tail keywords is like chicken dinner, chicken recipe, healthy eating. Okay, you don't have a prayer in Christmas time. You don't have a prayer of ranking for that in the Google algorithm, but you do in Pinterest. Okay, so you can go ahead and use short tail keywords. You don't have to slam your head against the desk trying to figure out what keyword to target. Just go ahead and use the keywords that make sense for that particular article in your pin description. And you can also go ahead and put that in your profile. Like I said, you can use short tail keywords. Just make sure that you give Pinterest an idea of what your blog post is about. So when somebody does a search for chicken dinner recipes, you want your post to come up. Whatever your keywords are, you want that post to come up. You want that pin to come up. So if you don't put something in the description, Pinterest isn't going to know what it's about, and you're never going to have a chance of coming up in the search. So go ahead and just give a description. So if your article is about healthy eating, go ahead and put healthy eating in the pin description, and you can go ahead and put like other words like healthy eating with chicken dinner, eat to lose weight, whatever your keywords are, whatever the blog post is about, you can go ahead and use that. But don't drive yourself insane trying to find keywords to target. Just use sort of the general ones that are associated with whatever your article is about. So in this case study, students in the gardening niche use keywords like gardening, seedlings, molt. Just the health coaches used niche-specific keywords like healthy eating, zucchini noodles, etc. So in the results, and we talked a bit about what this sort of image looks like, but the results were that they started getting 27 people at a time on their website, and that's 27 people at a time. So as the hours progress, that starts to add up exponentially. And then this is somebody else's analytics where what you're looking at is how many people are on their page from, it looks like, what, December 1st to December 31st maybe. And what you're seeing is, guess where they started to actually use Pinterest and use my advice. It was basically flatlined and then suddenly they're starting to get 20,000 page views a day, up to 20,000 page views a day using these strategies. Okay, so having those keywords, having the very good descriptions only helps you bring traffic in. And actually, I recommend it. Okay. So just to recap really quick, step 1 is promote only blog posts on Pinterest. Step 2 is collect those email addresses to build your list. Step 3 is create pins that attract attention. Step 4 is share your own pins regularly. And step 5 is use keywords in your descriptions to increase your reach. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and see if you guys have any questions. Okay, I don't see any questions there. Good. So very quickly, let me look at the left slide real quick. Okay, and so the main takeaway, guys, for this is that Pinterest is the fastest way to get more traffic, clients, and profit. And I think, now that we've talked about these 5 steps, I think that you see how valuable this platform really can be to grow your business. I'm just going to look at the next slide real quick. Okay. Before we talk about all this stuff, let me go ahead and show you, screen share with you guys and show you what a pin looks like. Okay. So this is the back end of one of my Pinterest profiles. This particular profile has 30,000 followers. This is basically what pins look like. So this person here, let me decrease the size of the screen a little bit. Sorry, guys. Perfect. Okay. So this gardener supply company has the idea. Okay. So you see right here on the top, this has one picture, and then they're trying to sell, I guess, this storage rack kit. And then, so the bottom photo is a picture of the storage rack kit. It looks like they have some features here. This is one example. Another example is this chicken Cobb salad pin, where on the top they have a clear photo, on the bottom they have a clear photo, and then in the middle here you see that what the title is, and it's fairly easy to read. I probably wouldn't have chosen that font for the paleo and Whole30, but que sera sera. But basically, that is what these long pins should look like. Now, if you're not sure how to share a pin, I'm going to go ahead and show you that. All you do is click Save. And then what should come up is all these boards. So I own all of these boards. I don't own all of them, but I either own them or I contribute to them. But I have the opportunity to pin on all of them. To actually share this particular pin, all you have to do is pick the board you want to put it on and then hit Save. And then that's how you share a pin. Okay. So this is called the news feed. This is where, when you log in, where your pins are going to potentially come up for your followers. Okay. Now, if they do a search, let's say our search is chicken coop mistakes. That's what I search for often. Then this is how someone does a search. So they search for their particular keywords, and then what comes up are these pins. So like Google, the pins are sort of a picture representation of the article itself, right? So when it comes up in a search, this is what they're seeing. So when they do a search, they see all these pins, and it's basically kind of like Google, where the articles come up and then they can choose which one they want to. They're going to choose based usually on like how easy the title is to read and the quality of the picture. So I hope that answers some of you guys' questions. Let me go back to this. Just looking real quick to see. So back to Simple Life says, what is the best size for a long pin? I think the best size, and we've tested this, is 700 pixels by 2000 pixels. So 700 pixels wide by 2000 pixels long. We tested this. So Cam says, where do you place the link to your website? Do you include any teaser text? Yeah, let me go back to that real quick, guys. I knew if I logged off of it, I was going to regret it. Okay, so yes, you do want to have teaser text. So this right here, let me pop this up. This right here, Okay, my computer is freaking out on me. There we go. Sorry guys, my computer was having a moment. Okay, this right here is the teaser text, and basically what you can put in there is anything. So this one's about a chicken coop. So she said, building a chicken coop is easy, as is raising chickens for eggs or meat. Even so, take a little advice to avoid the mistakes that I made. So that's just like the way to tease them a bit. All right. And then the next question was, okay, so how do you include the link? So when you upload pins, you have an option to share the link. So let me show you that real quick. We're going to go into my profile. This is my home and garden website, and you can see it's got almost 30,000 followers right there. So I know what I'm talking about. Hold on. So the way you upload a pin is you click on the board, and then you hit Save Pin. So here, we'll save the pin. You can upload an image from the web or your device. I recommend doing it from your device, which can be your computer. And what's going to come up is a place where you can hit Upload Pin, and you can upload the pin from your computer. And then right here is the URL that you want to send them to. So whatever the image happens to be, you upload it, and then the URL will send them to the website itself. I hope that answers the question. You're welcome back to Simple Life. Cool. Okay, guys. So I'm going to come back here. Now, this is a no-pitch webinar, but when this comes back up, if you do want a copy, there will be a 24-hour replay. But if you do want to have a copy of this to keep, you can go ahead and do that. It is $49. And what I'll do is there's a couple cool PDFs I can throw in there for you guys. The Pinterest boards that attract traffic toolkit. That PDF helps you figure out what boards you should have on your site or on your Pinterest profile. And then there's a checklist that goes along with this this slideshow. That's basically what we talked about, so you can go ahead and print it out and refer back to it as you are playing around on Pinterest. And I'll also throw in a free, if you buy on the webinar, if you buy right now, I'll go ahead and throw a free 15-minute laser coaching session. We can talk about Pinterest, your business, whatever you want. But that is a webinar only offer. And then if you want to go and grab that, you can go to teammayot.com/yes. And then when the recording of this is available and it's ready and like we're done and I can download it, you will go ahead and have access to that. So Carolyn says, amazing value. Thank you so much for the information. You are welcome. Shelly says this was very valuable. You're welcome, Shelly. I hope I answered all of you guys' questions. So if you have more questions, though, put them in the chat box and I will stay on for another few minutes and answer all of them. Very quickly, though, even if you don't buy today, don't worry about it. Go ahead and join my Facebook group at teammayot.com/Facebook. We are going to go ahead and talk about all sorts of other things, Pinterest and sales funnels and all sorts of other fun stuff in that group. I'm just going to leave this up here, guys, though, just so you have it in case you want the URL. I'm going to take a drink real quick. So if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the chat box, and I will answer them. Let me just look at this real quick to see if there's any other questions that I might have missed. Now, Cam, I hope I explained well enough what a pin looks like in a blog share pin. If you have any questions about that, let me know. Okay, so Shelly asked, my current blog pins are shared on different platforms. Should I ignore those and just going forward only share blog posts to Pinterest? Shelly, I'm not quite sure I understand your question when you say your current blog pins are shared on different platforms. Can you explain that? Do you mean like Blogger versus WordPress? Tanya, you need to be on Pinterest. I'm going to be just very blunt about that because your ideal audience is on Pinterest. Pinterest is 85% women, and it's women like ages 30 to like 60. So you can easily, if you share helpful articles about how your business helps people, you want to do anyways, because that's how you're going to attract people. That's how you're going to start engaging with them. You're going to do a really good job of getting traffic and potential customers. And I know this because, like I said, I'm a little bit in that world, in the MLM world, because of the essential oils. And a lot of times people don't know how to use the oils. Like, they know that they are helpful. They kind of know that they really know how to do it. And giving them those useful articles gives them an idea of how to incorporate them in their life. So, I really do recommend that you go ahead and get on Pinterest and start sharing useful information about your products. Looking at all the other questions, you guys. Hi, Byron. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so Kelly says that she will definitely make a few tweaks. She'd like to start making to her own pins. Great, Kelly. If you have any questions, just let me know. Shelly says, how many Pinterest graphics do you use for one blog story if you're resharing or testing with different traffic, right? Yeah, I mean, you can make as many as you want. I would say make at least 2, because then you can test them. And guys, here's the other thing I should mention too. So let's say you have a blog post and it has 5 different photos on it. People will go to your website and they'll share your article on Pinterest and they'll just pick any random photo, right? That happens a lot. I call it the ugly pin. And don't be surprised if the ugly pin is the one that goes viral, because it happens a lot. So, test them out, look and see what's actually performing, and that's the one you want to keep sharing. So make 2 or 3 for your website, see which one's actually, resonating with people, and keep sharing that one. But there's really no end to how many graphics you can make for your pins. It's really dependent on your time and how much time you got and how much testing you really want to do. So Shelly says she shares her blog stories on Facebook, Twitter, Google, and StumbleUpon. You want to share the actual blog posts themselves. You don't want to share, you don't want to send them from Pinterest to Facebook to your blog. So you want to make pins just for the blog posts themselves, and not necessarily for and a really good example of this is like videos. So let's say you have an amazing video that you did on a live stream that you did on Facebook, right? An amazing live stream that you want to share. My suggestion is to put that on a blog post page. So download it and then embed it in a blog post, because you want to send them directly to your website. You don't want to send them to Facebook. You don't want to send them to YouTube. You want to send them to your website so you can capture those leads. Okay, so Shelly said, should they only be shared on Pinterest? No, Pinterest is just another platform. So let's say you have a blog post and you share it on Facebook, Twitter, and StumbleUpon. Also share it on Pinterest. You don't have to only share it on Pinterest. I wouldn't recommend that, because you never know, right? You want to share it as many places as you can. But Pinterest, I feel very, very sure, will quickly become one of your biggest referrers of traffic. So Tanya says that she is, but she just needs to create boards and she can start a blog. Yeah, Tanya, go ahead and do that. I think you're going to have a lot of success. I think you will be surprised. Shelly says she understands. Good. I'm glad somebody understands me. Sometimes I don't make much sense. I stutter a lot. So, Byron, thanks for showing up. You guys, I did a really great podcast interview with Byron the other day. He asked the best questions about Pinterest. So I'm glad he's here and he's enjoying this. All right, guys. Yeah, just keep asking questions and I will go ahead and answer them. I'll give this probably another 8 minutes until 3:15 my time, just to make sure that I answer all of your questions. Okay, let me scroll up here a bit and see if I missed anything. Okay, so Caroline says she has a blog post and then an opt-in for a coupon. That's totally fine. For your coupon opt-in, what I suggest though is putting it in a pop-up light box, because most people, when they're reading articles, they don't actually scroll to the bottom. So if you want to get more people on your website, oh, sorry, if you want to get more email addresses and you want to really collect on that traffic, go and put your coupon in a pop-up light box, so that you can go ahead and just make sure that they actually see the offer. If you just put it on the bottom, they might not see your offer. Caroline says, is a pop-up okay? Yes, it's totally okay. And actually, I recommend it for all the reasons I just said, because studies show that when people get on a web page, they only scroll like maybe 50% coupon is at the bottom of the article. Only a small percentage of people coming to your site are actually going to see that offer. So the pop-up gives them the option to see the offer sooner. If it's, again though, if it's a page you're trying to rank in Google, the pop-up isn't the best idea. But if you're not trying to rank the page at all in Google, it's just an article, then the pop-up is the best method to use. Okay, so Carolyn says, I guess if you're driving traffic from Pinterest, you don't care about getting penalized in Google. For some pages, personally for me, for some pages I do, and some pages I don't. There are pages that I know will never rank in Google, articles I've written, they'll never rank. I don't even want to like go through the struggle and the process of finding. I mean, I'm an SEO expert also, but there are just times when I'm like, I don't even want to like deal with trying to find a keyword for this page, right? And I know I'm going to do well on Pinterest anyways, so I don't worry about it for that page. But I also have some articles that rank #1 in Google for that keyword, and I definitely don't want those pages to be penalized. So you have to use your best judgment about whether or not it's worth using a pop-up on that particular page. Cam says, can you repeat what you get exactly for $49? It sounds like a replay on the sales page. Yeah, basically what it is, so there's going to be a 24-hour replay. After that 24 hours, the replay is going to come down, and it's going to be $49. So what you get exactly is a replay of this presentation plus the Pinterest board about in this this session. And then I'm also, if you buy it while we're on the call right now, I'm going to throw in the 15-minute laser coaching session. I usually charge $250 an hour for coaching, so that's a pretty valuable bonus in and of itself, and it's totally free. Caroline says that yeah, but it's worked for me. It drove 1.5 million people to my website, so I hope you do go ahead and start using Pinterest. All right, guys, I'll stand for probably another, 7 minutes? Maybe not quite that long if you guys are not looking for, if you guys don't have too many questions left. I do want to thank you guys for being here, though. And thank you for all these wonderful questions. Caroline says she has to go get the kids. Thanks so much. This was amazing. You're welcome. Caroline says, oh, yes, I'm at the Google pop-up thingy. Yeah. Yeah, Google started slamming people for having pop-ups on their site. Cam says, thank you. You're welcome, Cam. All right, guys, we'll give it a couple more minutes to see if there's any other questions. Just looking at all the questions to make sure I didn't miss any of them. Bye, Caroline. You're welcome, Shelly. Shelly says, this is amazing. Thank you very much. You're welcome. All right, guys, if there's no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. You can always go ahead and email me if you have questions. Byron says he's looking forward to the course. You're welcome, Byron. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and finish this. Thank you for watching. I hope it has answered your questions. If you do have any questions about it, you can definitely go ahead and message me on Facebook or email me. But thanks again for watching, and I hope you have enjoyed it. Bye, guys.